Hi everyone, I'm Mike and this is the Sunday Art Show. So we've got something a little bit different this week. This is my first painting of a chicken on the channel. So this is a Dominique chicken or a dominiker hen. And the inspiration for this actually came from a viewer of the channel, which was really cool. So for this little video I did a while ago on plein air painting of a horse in landscape, Robin wrote in and said, any chance you're going to paint some chickens, because I recently got dominiker hens.
Yeah,
they're curious little characters, they're quite quirky, and you'd like to see my interpretation of them. So I wasn't familiar with them. I looked them up and I thought, okay, well that's cool, but I probably have to do it from a Pixabay reference photo. But then by chance we were at Otterton Mill, which is where this footage is here. Otterton Mill is, here's a little biro sketch I did inspired by the hens. And Otterton Mill is actually one of the 10 oldest businesses in the entire world. But they've got these chickens there. And as you can see, they are little characters, and this one is just kind of scratching away at the dirt, which I thought was would make for some good sketches. So I did a few quick little thumbnail sketches with the purple biro, just to do something a little bit different. And you can see here, they're just simple little line drawings, gestural drawings, but kind of hopefully captured the character and poise of the hen there. And just doing these quick studies helps you get used to an animal, especially if you're not used to drawing or painting that particular animal. So I actually did another one, another biro drawing. This rooster, though, that could be another good character for a painting at some point in the future, so look out for that. But this particular sketch here is the one I'm going to base the painting on, that particular pose. Just kind of a classic hen walking along pose, if you like. So I'm starting out with A2 mixed media paper in a pad, as you can see. 1/2 inch flat brush. And I'm just putting down some burnt umber Atelier interactive acrylic. As usual, I'll pop the colours that I'm using in the description below the video. And what I'm doing is just doing what I did with the biro, really. I'm just putting in a very loose line drawing, looking at the basic shapes. And then having done that, I've gone back over with a blue to refine my drawing and make any corrections. But I'm also kind of adding some contours, because as these hens are black and white patterned, as you can see there, it's quite a complex patterning. And it's very easy to get lost in amongst that complexity. So I'm trying to keep the structure very simple initially. Having done that, I'm coming in now with kind of it's almost like a mid-grey, I would guess, but I've mixed it up with alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, a bit of burnt umber, and just a touch of carbon black. And what I'm doing is keeping in mind those simple forms that I've put down in the sketch. I'm adding in areas of tone. I'm keeping in mind the contours of the hen. But when the paint runs out on my brush, as you can see I'm doing here, I'm adding a little bit of dry brush in. And I'm hoping some of that will show through in the finished painting and give something of a fluffy texture, but we'll see how that goes. And next I've mixed up kind of a grey-blue. And so there was some of that colour on the underside of the hen there, the underside of the chicken. So I'm not going for pure black or pure grey. I want some colours within those normally neutral tones, because there are colours in the plumage reflected off the ground or off the plants or the sky. And I'm applying this layer of paint in the same way I did the darker tones, but my main aim here is just to get rid of the white paper and kind of scumble the paint across and see what kind of effects I get. Now I am starting to lose my preliminary drawing here, but I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, because I can always draw back into the painting as I carry on. So having blocked in the body, I now want to do something similar for the leg that's extended there, and then after I do that, what I'll do is I'll move up to the face and the head, and really, like I said, just want to kill all the white paper. Now I've been doing some watercolour work recently, if you've seen any of my outdoor paintings in the last few weeks, And so what I want to do in a little bit is give the background kind of a watercolor treatment, but I'll still use the interactive acrylics. So even though the face of the hen isn't the colour I'm using, this fairly sort of mid bluey grey is a good way to start, just to introduce some shadows. So I've just speeded up the footage now, so just to save time. And what I'm doing here, just kind of blocking in some of the little frills under the chin, and I'm sure there is a special name for that frilly bit on top of the head, but I can't remember what it is. So I'm just adding a little bit of the alizarin crimson mixed in with the ultramarine blue and a little bit of white to block those in. Now for the eye, I've gone for a circle of orange, and then I've highlighted areas with more yellow in the mix, black for the pupil, and then the highlight probably looks pure white on screen, but there is a little touch of blue in there. And then I've used a deeper purple to begin to outline the eye, and now I'm coming in with a larger mix of white in that same mixture to just start to pick out some of the highlights. So you can see the bird is starting to take shape now, but one of the things I was particularly taken by was the deep blue reflected hues on the underside of the body there. So I'm just adding those in now. So it's simply ultramarine blue with just a touch of white, and there might be a touch of the crimson in there as well. But it's really a good thing, I think, to look for all the different colours. So you can see I've added some highlights, some of the patterning in as well. And on the back, just behind the neck, that's close to being pure white. But up around the head, there's a little bit of the ultramarine blue in it. And then on the chest and lower down on the neck, there's far more of that ultramarine blue. So I'm kind of experimenting with mark making and colours as I go. There are some browns on the side of the body, and some light blues on the tail, and even some purples in the tail as well. And what I'm doing is I'm absolutely not trying to copy every little white mark on the body. I'm hopefully just trying to get the essence of it, and more of an impressionist approach really. So the bird, the hen isn't finished, but I want to get some background in. So you just saw me take this big, or I'm doing it again now, nice big chunky brush and some clean water, and I'm just wetting certain areas of the paper. And having done that, I'm coming in with an inch wide flat brush, and I've chosen a kind of a toned down version of the purple I used elsewhere. I added a little bit more burnt umber and a little touch of cadmium yellow light. And so that's allowing me to kind of hopefully capture a little bit of the tone you just saw there on the ground. And now that that's dried, and the chicken is dry completely as well, I'm coming back in with my small round brush to work up details on the head. So you can see I'm now doing a little bit more modelling of those sort of frilly bits, capturing the shadows and the highlights, a few details in around the eye as well. So I mean, just from the little bit of footage I got on this particular day, you could probably produce almost 100 paintings with all the different poses and stuff, because they really are quite characterful birds. They're always scratching in the dirt, they're climbing through the branches and stuff, walking around, strutting, twisting, all sorts of different poses. So really good subject to paint. So thanks very much again for suggesting that, Robin. And as you can see, back to working on the head with my round brush, and just picking out highlights and adding enough detail that it conveys the message, but trying not to overdo it. And now when the paint is dried back, I can now come in and say, well, I'll add a few more highlights here and there to the patterning on the feathers. And having done that, I can pick out some darker areas as well. So again, I'm keeping in mind the different colours of my highlights and the different tones. So for example here, I came in a little bit too light on the underside of the chest, so I kind of toned that back by just removing most of it with a paper towel. But next I want the head to stand out much more than it currently is. So I'm adding thin layers of darker paint, green over the back, purple around the head, to kind of reflect what's going on in amongst those sticks and things and those dead bushes. And then I want to add some shadow, cast shadow on the underside of the bird there, and pick out a few key highlights on the leg. Now I came in a little dark here with the shadow, a little bit too much black in the mix, but I did want to add some darker highlights, so I knocked back much of that with the paper towel again, and came in with more of a purple, and then having put the darks in, I came back in with some of the light patterning. Now, having done all of that work, I wanted to go right back to what I did at the very beginning and pick out the simple shapes again. So I mixed up some ultramarine blue and the alizarin crimson to get a nice purple, and I'm using that applied very thinly to just put washes of that purple colour over the dry painting that I've done already. You know, not caring whether I cover up some of the pattern or not, but hopefully most of it will show through. And what that's allowing me to do is go right back to the start and pull out those simple shapes, those simple forms, to hopefully improve the modelling of this little hen. And you can see in the background I've also added just a few little touches to suggest the presence of some leaves and things. I've put some cast shadows weaving across the ground, and I've put a little lighter yellow wash on the ground on the right hand side as well, to try and create that illusion of light, you know, cascading across this bird. Added a little more shadow under the chin there. So let me just show you some close-ups. There's the head. You can get a good look at the eye there. There's my little signature hidden in the shadows. Some of the patterning on the tail and the wings. And so that's this painting pretty much done, actually. I need to think up a good title for this one, but I'm pretty happy with it, actually. So thanks again for the suggestion. Really appreciate that. If anybody else has a subject they would like me to paint, then please feel free to ask. And I hope to see you next Sunday for the next episode of the Sunday Art Show. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching.